Hello and welcome to video 2, installing DVBLink Server / setup plus feature show off. I thought I'd bring this video forward. I was going to do it later in my little series of 4 videos about Media Center and DVBLink Server, but I thought since there's a little PK of interest from users obviously trying to get DVBLink Server working on 1903, and those who don't and have never used DVBLink Server wondering what it's about, why us users of it still want to use it, why it's so important to us that we use this kind of third-party software. I've used Media Center for a long time without using DVBLink Server until I stumbled upon it probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I've been using Media Center a long time. And I just wish I'd learned about it earlier because it's really good for channel lineups, merging channels, applying guide data, backing up your whole setup, importing it to another machine, even if it's dissimilar hardware, you can do that as well. Different TV tuner cards, I'm sure that's possible. I've ported this setup from one machine to another. I'm going to talk about the whole licensing of it, the trial, licensing it on a reinstall basis. My worries about obviously the DVB-Link backend server being shut down and how that's going to affect things, and how I'm making preparations to avoid that being that affecting me. And I'm going to show you those in this video so I can future-proof myself. And then I'm going to show you about how to tune it and the best procedures for tuning and various other little caveats. And hopefully, as we go along this video, you'll appreciate and wonder, why have I not been using DVBLink Server? It's really quite good, isn't it? But it's kind of probably never been shown off for Media Center, the Media Center client, really, and how, if those Media Center users who've been using Media Center for quite some time, why it would probably benefit you if you did use it. I'm not a salesman for DVB-Link. Obviously, they're discontinuing the product. Well, already have done, but the server seems to be still working. Everything back-end wise, licensing and software plugins all seem to be working still. Okay, but yeah, this is a worry of mine that this will stop. But let's start off, and I suppose I best explain my setup. I've got 4 machines to show you various things about this on, which is easy to demonstrate. I've got this laptop that I'm on now, which obviously has no TV tuner cards, won't ever have any TV tuner cards in it, and has never had DVB-Link installed before, so I can show you how the trial version works and licenses. And that I've got an old machine and just to make it easier to delineate, the laptop has got this white background. When I'm on the white desktop background, I'm on the laptop. Um, my old machine, my old desktop that I've moved from, because obviously when I heard that DVB-Link were discontinuing the product, and it is based off a hardware ID. When you license the product, it has a hardware fingerprint, and obviously I was worried that my old desktop was quite old, and I really should upgrade. There's other reasons I wanted to upgrade, and obviously I wanted to port this all across as well. And my worry was, if I did do this now, maybe this whole licensing thing would be a showstopper. So this is my old machine. I'm going to show you some things about this. It's easier to show you these things having all these machines available. So I'm selling my old machine shortly, but for the minute, it's here. This doesn't have the TV tuner cards in anymore. They've been ported to my new machine, which I've got 2 hard drives running. One, I've got 1809 all perfectly set up, and I'll show you how ultimately I've got it all arranged once it is all fully bedded in. And this is just this green desktop is my same desktop, different hard drive, my new desktop that is, but ultimately it's going to be showing you how to configure all the tuning from scratch. Obviously, I don't want to mess up my nicely, perfectly installed and tweaked 1809 image on my other hard drive on this new desktop. Okay, that will have a blue background. I'll say when I'm moving to that one, but for the minute, obviously, I've got to reboot it to do that. So technically, there's kind of 4 machines, well, 3 physical machines, and one's got 2 hard drives in. So that's the arrangement. White background. White background is desktop background is the laptop which is going to be the man in the middle that I'm doing all the recording on. And then I've got remote desktops to my old machine, which is red, my new machine, which is green, and when I reboot it, it will have a blue background. And I'll make sure I'm mentioning this as I go through it, so it's not kind of confusing. So I'm going to start by installing DVBLink on this laptop that has never had it installed before, and then you can see the whole trial process. So I would go through downloading it from this website, dvblogic.com/em/downloads. They're still hosting it to download. Obviously, you then click on DVBLink and then click on download. But I've already done that, and you get this zip file. If we open that, you'll get 2 files within it. Copy them out of the zip file, and then let's go through installing without any further ado. So if I accept, next, install, off it goes. It's 160 megabyte download. There's 3 worries obviously with this going forward. One is if the backend servers are turned off, you can't license the product. You can't install the plugins anymore, and obviously the main installer could, not be available to download anymore. Obviously, I've made a copy of the main, download that we just downloaded there and installing. That's fine. So I've got that for future reference. Then there's the plugins. I found a way around getting the plugins downloaded, so I don't need the backend servers to present the plugins and install them off their server. So that's fine. I've got around that. And now I'm locked into this new desktop, and it's a brand new desktop, which hopefully will go for the next maybe 8 years. It sounds funny saying that, but broadcasting standards don't change. And this is a home theatre PC, mainly to run Media Center. So I'm hoping that I've future-proofed myself by obviously getting all this in place. Okay, so it's installed, it's loaded up, and this is what it comes up with when it initially loads. If you had everything tuned in, or at least done a channel scan and imported it, it would load up to this screen, which would be the guide screen. But obviously, there's no guide in here; it's all blank. Just thought I'd come in here and show you that. Click on Setup. We're back in the main screen because there's no plugins installed. It immediately prompts for this DVBLink Package Center. So this is my second worry. First one is the download for the main installer goes, but obviously I've got a copy of that. Second worry is that these plugins aren't presented anymore when it loads up, or probably this is coming from the machine actually without any internet connection. But when you click install, the actual plugins come in off the internet. Now I didn't see which one I clicked install on there. I didn't really want to click install. Let's try to go to DVBLink to get the installer software. And I'm just gonna, what is that? Oh, that is TV source. Okay, so I do want TV source. That is the main thing that you'll need for channel tuning. So I'm going through installing that. Okay, and I'm going to show you the other way that you can install plugins if the backend server goes. I did speak with them once about a scenario where I had a machine which wasn't on the internet, purely to see if they could provide me with the DLP files, which are the files which are these plugins. And I've got some links, and I've downloaded all the things that are presented in that installation wizard. I've got them all there. So that's gone on from DVBLink server. Now I'm going to install another element that I use, which is IPTV. Okay, so just to let you know, these are all the different sources you can have. So TV source is ultimately your FreeSat or your Freeview, basically satellite television and terrestrial television coming via your aerial and your satellite, as probably that graphic kind of shows. And then DVBLink for IPTV is you can get any IPTV channels into Media Center. And if you so want, analog TV, obviously nobody's broadcasting traditional analog TV anymore, but if you have a PlayStation with an RF output, a VHS machine with an RF output as well, you could with proper connectors, so you can get your aerial connected in series with also your PlayStation and your and your VHS machine. If you wanted to, you could install the analog thing, do a scan, and have your PlayStation on the TV guide, have your VHS machine on the TV guide, have any IPTV channels on the TV guide, okay, and they all can stack up. Okay, so I've got some security cameras that are IPTV compatible, and I install DVBLink for IPTV so I can access those um, on my home network. Okay, and it works really well. So if I want to look at a camera, I can click on the guide on the channel and bring up the camera, which is quite handy to have. So these are all the kind of sources that you can have. The final one is the Dreambox source, which the Dreambox, as far as I understand it, I've never used this. It was some kind of a real dodgy thing, as far as I recall, where you had a box that you got from some dodgy seller on eBay or something, which would allow you to circumvent the encryption on satellite channels because it went over the internet to some guy who had bought the cards and was then a price sharing the encryption over the internet. So instead of having a proper manufacturer's Skybox or premium Canal Plus, if you're in France, box or whatever, you would basically install this program, have another box, but it was kind of doing stuff over the internet to kind of get kind of past the encryption. So it's amazing that's there. I know nothing about that. I've never used it. Other add-ons are the DVBLink IPTV server. I've never used that. I will also be installing the UK or GB, Great Britain TV Advisor package. Okay, there is other ones available, not a huge amount. Netherlands, there's a Danish one there, and then there's German, Austrian, and Swiss. No French, unfortunately, Kevin, which is annoying for you. But obviously, there is lots of other ways of getting EPG guide information into DVBLink. For the channels that the TV Advisor doesn't do, I use EPG Center. These are generally satellite channels that are missing. You know, the DVBLink TV Advisor does not have any EPG information for. Okay, and EPG Center pulls that information off the FreeSat or the satellite transmission to fill in the blanks, and DVBLink works with that. You can give it lots of other XML sources, but this is a product that they supply, so it's in this interface. These are all the products that DVBLink supply for their own DVBLink server, so they're all presented here. But there's other routes to get guide data in. The one thing I mentioned about the DVBLink TV Advisor guide data is it's the best. The reason it's the best is you get pictures. Okay, I don't know if you get pictures via any other guide source, but I used to do a route where I used to use Big Screen EPG, which was a bit of software that you could have DigiGuide, which is still going, where you can have lots of channels and have a Windows program with all your channels on it. And using Big Screen EPG, you could get your guide data out of that, and then Big Screen EPG will put it into Windows. But that route only did text; it didn't do pictures. And conversely, the EPG Center, pulling the text data of the guide information off the satellite itself, doesn't have pictures. DVBLink TV Advisor has pictures, so you primarily want to, when stacking up the EPG, order in the EPG section, which I'll come to later. You want to prioritize if DVBLink has the channel information for that channel, you want to assign DVBLink as the source for guide data for that channel, because it will have pictures and it just makes the interface so much better. If you saw my previous video where I showed off Mike's Modern Media UI guide, every single kind of channel on the initial 1 to 20 channels I showed you, the main terrestrial channels in the UK, all had pictures on, which is fantastic. It looks great. So that's a bit of a brief rundown of the plugins which are in here. The final set is EPG loaders. There's one for ICE TV and Perk Data. I've never used either of those. I had a quick look at ICE TV earlier. I've never looked at this before. Maybe this supplies guide data with pictures as well. If so, I'm going to investigate this and probably do a trial of that before this goes and buy it, just in case the DVB-Link guide data frees up. You have to buy a continuing subscription every year for the guide data. I think I pay like 20 quid, something like that. And as I say, it's very good because you get the pictures with it. If that expires, then there's other routes to use DVB-Link to get the guide data to Windows Media Center. EPG Center would be one, or maybe trying one of these ones as well. You can give it XML files from any probably bit of software that spits out XML files with guide data, and it will import it. So you can have all your guide data needs covered, even if DVB-Link gives up the ghost. Okay, so that's a rundown of the options that are in here. Now you saw me install the TV source bit earlier by clicking on TV source and going install, and that came off DVB-Link's backend server and got downloaded automatically and then installed when I clicked accept. But obviously I'm trying to have a robust installation that is, going into the future. I can reinstall this on Windows 10, God knows, version 2, 102, if it gets that far, I don't know. And the only one of my concerns was the fact that this was coming off their server. But I noticed there's an upload button, okay, which got me thinking, what's this? And they have extensions, they call it DLP extensions, which are just files which have the packages that screen's presenting. So I've future-proofed myself because I've got all of these. So if I was to install the UK TV Advisor package, I can click on that. That's not coming off the web, that's just coming. I saw that was a lot quicker than the previous one. That's just a file on my machine that I've pre-saved. So that's okay. So the three things are not having the main installer file, which is fine. I've downloaded it, saved it. I've got all the plugins downloaded and saved. The third worry is licensing. Okay, and it needing the DVB-Link server to license it, but you actually don't need that either. Once you've got a license going, you can back up your license files and basically drop them in place, and it doesn't require any authentication with the DVB-Link mothership to actually license the product. Okay, so that's kind of showing you how two ways of installing DVB-Link. Let me install the last package that I use. So if I go DVB-Link for IPTV is what I want. So, but I've got to click upload, choose file. Not in TV advisors. I need to be in TVB signal sources, IPTV, upload. Okay, so that will put on all my elements. This is all I have. The TV source, which is the main channel tuning for satellite and terrestrial. If I was to buy the analog one, I could tune analog and rack that up in there. But TV source is just for satellite and terrestrial digital transmissions only. And I have the TV advisor and then I have IPTV, as I mentioned earlier, for my security cameras. So once this goes in, okay, so now I don't know why I'm putting all these products in, because obviously this is a trial version, but that's my usual setup, these three elements. So this is a machine I've never installed this on. So if I now go activate trial, it should hopefully activate, and it should give me 20 days of activation. Okay, so that's trial. Excellent, 19 days left. So now I'm going to show you where the license files are. If you go into the program files folder, x86, go DVB Logic, DVB Link, and then go share, and then go licenses, you will see, I should have probably popped in here earlier, but it would have been blank earlier. I've now got a license file which corresponds to that product TV source, which I've licensed. We now have a license file there. Okay, so I can license the next one if I want to. Activate. Again, I'm not registering to do this. You don't have to put any email information. The trial can be done without any information. Obviously, when you buy it, you're going to have to register with them. So I would recommend, if you like this product, having trial that you get buying it before this product isn't available anymore, or they don't want to help you with activating it or anything else. So that's gone through as well. Now the TV Advisor is a trial version, and this won't activate. Actually, there you go. Subscription-based products do not have a trial mode. Okay, so I would have to register and have to. I already an account. If you already have an account, it asks for email and password, and that if you don't, you've got to register. So that's fine. So that's not active. That one isn't. So this, I'll now show you about backup and how backup is affected by the licensing. Okay, if we go back to the licensing folder, look, you should, yeah, there you go. So we've got the 2 licensed products. The third one I couldn't license, and that one at the top's free. So free, license, can't be licensed because it's a subscription. Okay. So what was I going to say next? Oh yes, backing up. So if I go settings, just to make you aware, if you don't have everything across the board license, you cannot back up and restore. Okay, so backup/restore options are disabled because at least one of the source licenses is expired or not activated yet. Okay, so if I then remove that product that isn't licensed, which is that TV guide that is going all red, let's uninstall that. That'll get rid of it. Now this is the same on my old PC at the minute. My old PC I haven't used for 6 months. The license has expired because it was end of December last year, and I moved to my new PC probably 8 months ago. So this is the same in here as well for my old PC. Can't back up and restore, and I want to do that because I want to show you how you can back up and restore. So I'm going to remove TV Advisor from this machine as well. So let's say yes to that. So that's now flick back to my laptop, and we've removed it from there. So you've got to make out there's a white background there. I probably should make this a bit smaller so you can see the delineations there. So that there we go. So now if I go back to settings, I've got backup and restore options available. I'm going back to my old desktop now that I'm also removing TV Advisor from because it's expired. Okay, because I equally can't back up. I want to show you now backing up and restoring, and also how you can move licenses and backup licenses as well, because this is a major thing of saving a lot of hassle. So I've got that out of there now as well. Everything else is registered or free. So if I now go into settings of here, I've now got the option to back up. So what I want to show you is this is already a pre-configured setup. So let me go on the sources tab. The sources tab is where you define your sources. So as you can see in here under TV source heading and under IPTV, because I've got my cameras, IPTV camera source there, I've got my physical tuner cards, okay, which I've labeled DVBS tuner 2, DVB-T tuner 1, and each one is saying device not present. There should be another one there. Can I scroll down? I have to go full screen. For some reason it's missing one of my old satellite. I have got 2 satellite tuners, 2 DVB-T tuners and 2 DVB-T2 tuners. Okay, but each one of those which is present says device is not present. So this is when you get devices not present on the left, it means the physical TV tuner card is not there anymore. The guide data and all the configuration is still there, because under TV source you've got these things showing, but the cards are missing. Okay, so going back to my old machine to my new my laptop. Okay, this has just had it installed on. If I go to sources here, this machine, this laptop has no TV tuner cards in it. So it's got no actual configuration put into it. Okay, I've never configured anything yet on this one. Okay, so it says there are no compatible tuners detected on your system. The list of compatible tuners, click here, which goes to a link that's dead. So ultimately, I can't do a tuning on this machine because it's not seeing any cards. On my old machine, it's got an old tuning setup, but there is no physical cards on it. And if I go to my new machine and open DVBLink on the sources page, it's got all my physical tuner cards, but on the right you don't see any of those coloured blocks. It's not saying DVB-T2, DVB-T1 or whatever, because that's my naming convention for my cards. So here I've got 4 cable tuners that I never use, 2 satellite tuners, and 4 DVB-T tuners. Although even though it all says the DVB-T, 2 are T2 and 2 are just T. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the difference in how the sources screen looks. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to import, okay, from my old machine. Let me just check I've got this. So this is the red desktop. So this is my old machine. So my old machine's got a tuning setup in it, but it's missing actual physical devices. So let's back this tuning setup up. So if I go to settings and I go back up, it's going to spit out an XML file that I can then restore into my new machine, which has the physical tuner cards in it. So if I go desktop, save, so I've got my DVBLink XML file. So this contains all the setup. So I'll just actually briefly show you the setup. I've shown you the sources. This is all the channel setup we've got. Those are all the tuner sources that are available, and then on the right is what you've selected. So in the case of satellite, I've got 456 channels, but I'm only selecting 168 that I want. Okay. If I go through channel merge, it shows how you can merge all the channels, all the sources. There should be 2 pinks, 2 greens, and 2 blues. Okay, but I've managed to delete one of the satellite channels earlier. And then channel settings, where you can number them all in the order that you want. Fairly easy. You can swap numbers around and resave. And then the EPG sources tab, which is all saying unknown because obviously the subscription's expired, and most of the subscriptions are coming via not EPG Center, that one is coming via, but by the TV Advisor plugin, and that's expired, so you've got nothing there. But that shows you that there is a tuned setup in here, okay, referencing the tuner settings in the sources tab, but there is no actual physical cards. So I'm going to move this tuning setup that I've backed up to this file to my new machine that has the physical cards in, but is missing the tuner setup on the right. Okay, so let me copy this file to my laptop as a man in the middle, and then copy it to the remote desktop connection in my new machine with a green background, and paste it there. On my boss, please. Did I already copy it? Yes, I've just already copied it. Okay, so I'm now going to settings. Oh, by the way, I suppose I probably should show you. If we go to channels, nothing there. Favorites, nothing there. Logos, nothing there. Channel merge, nothing there. Channel settings, nothing there. It's all blank basically in my new machine. So I go to settings now, and I'm going to import or restore, I should say, the things, the backup file for my old machine, and I'm now importing it. Okay, so now if I go to channels and go look, oh, I've got what you saw on the other machine. All my channel mergings, all my channel settings, all my EPG sources. Now notice on this EPG source, the TV Advisor now is showing because this has got actually a licensed, registered copy of DVBLink TVP source. Okay, so that's registered as well. And if I go onto the sources tab now, this is what you should see when you go and have a look. So you've got oh, actually, no, this isn't what you're going to see. There's a little, I've got to talk you through a little intermediary stage. Because my old PC, this is interesting actually, this will show you how you can back up a channel listing from a machine that has different hardware to your new machine. My TV cards have been swapped over, they're the same, but the motherboard's different, and DVB-Link couldn't see the cards in the motherboard slot naming convention that it had on the old machine. So I've now got to reassign the channel. So the guide data here, which I ported over, is still saying device not present, but I have some physical devices here. So I now need to reassign the channel information. So this will show you how brilliant this DVB-Link is. You can in effect back up to new machines, and I suspect you could even back up a satellite tuning arrangement to a different machine with a different physical tuner card, as long as it had that capability of DVBS and you assign it to the card, which I'm going to do in a moment. You can then carry on. So in effect, we could all share satellite tuning lineups for our own nations. So one person could spend the time retuning it all and then say, here you go, guys, here's the new file. That's possible. And obviously you won't have the same hardware or the same TV card as the guy has done that, but then you can reassign it to your physical card. So let me do that now. So if I go and select this question mark I've got on the satellite tuner, I've got a reassign button. If I click on this, it's going to list me all what it sees as the physical cards in my machine. So I've got, going by this column, 4 cable tuners, which I said earlier, 2 satellite tuners, and 4 DVB-T tuners. So it's a DVBS lineup. There's only 2 DVBS tuners, and they're both identical. So I'm select one of them, click OK. So now I've got a little eye next to, I've got my little tuner name, my guide data information name is now matched to the physical card across the horizontal row. This is what they should all look like. And if I click on I, it shows me a physical device and the ID of it. Okay, that's what you're looking for. So now I need to do this with the TV tuner, other card. So if I go, now I don't know which TV tuner information this refers to. It could be the one which has got the HD channels, the T2 tuner cards, and there's no distinction. I found a way around figuring this out. If I went into Device Manager and looked at sound and video and game controls. Oh, and by the way, these are all the virtual tuner cards that DVB-Link puts on your system. You get 8 DVB-Link TV tuner cards. Okay. Obviously, these above it are my actual physical cards that the server is going to use. Media Center is only going to be looking, and you're only going to tune it in its tuning wizard and pick off these 8 virtual cards. You're not going to include these 3 that only the server is going to be using in your Media Center tuning. Okay, but I'll do that in another video. But I just thought I'd mention that. Back to the task at hand, though, we've got to assign a DVB, which one was it? DVB-T, so not T2, but it could be a T2 card. So I've got to input T data in. So I've got to turn off the T2 card. So if I disable this T2 card, so I'm going to limit DVB-Link from seeing it. At the minute, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4 DVB-T tuner cards. Unfortunately, it can't pick up on the distinction of T and T2. So I found in Device Manager does pick up on the distinction of T and T2, and I've disabled the T2 card. So now if I restart the DVBLink service, so if I go into services and look for DVBLink, now this is the back end that ultimately is running DVBLink. If this service stops, crashes, plays up, you're generally going to have to restart it. If you're in Windows Media Center and you've tuned it using those 8 virtual tuners and it's all working fine, channels are coming into Media Center, and you've got a guide and you're viewing the channels and they're all being displayed by DVBLink. But if this service stops, you'll get that classic thing where Media Center is coming up saying it doesn't see any tuner cards, okay, and you have to reboot the entire machine. I've got a PowerShell script that runs to check this actual DVBLink server all the time, and if it's not, it works off a particular port. In fact, I'll show you that now. If I stop the service from running, of course you need to know this really. Okay, come on, stop. Making some noise on my desktop here, so it should be stopping the service. Go back in again. Still running. Did I not click stop? Operation cannot be completed. Ooh, maybe it needs to reboot my machine at this point. Let's go into services and have a look properly. Maybe I've killed it with all the restarting and rebooting. So it says it's running. Stop. Ooh, can't stop it. Right, okay, is it actually running or not? Let's have a look. Okay, so it is still running. Now normally if you double click on that you get something else if it's not running. I will demonstrate this on my other machine. So so I'll give up trying to do it on that machine. So as you can see, I'm starting DVBLink on my laptop. It's opening to there. Okay, I'm going to now stop the service. It's good having all these machines available. So when you're doing a demo, you've got a backup alternative to show something. So services, DVB. I'm going to stop DVB link on this machine. Says it's stopping. It stopped. Right, now if I go and run that DVBLink icon you get on the desktop, you get this. This is a little thing saying it can't see the DVBLink server, and it's looking locally on the machine at the loopback address and the port's 39876. If that service stops running, you can't double click on the application and load it. You won't get any TV shows recording from Media Center referencing DVBLink server because it's obviously gone kaput, and that's kind of annoying. It does happen that DVBLink, I have a machine that my main desktop reboots every day. Okay, every day at 4 o'clock in the morning it reboots, which means ultimately everything resets. So you would assume that DVBLink would be okay, but every now and again, once in every 3 or 4 months, I was finding that DVBLink, even though the machine had been rebooted and hadn't really had any activity on it throughout the day, it'd been asleep most of the day, DVBLink server wasn't running, and that meant all the shows for that evening, if we'd not been in and noticed, weren't recorded, which pissed people off, something rotten in my household. So I developed a PowerShell script that pings that port and every 15 minutes on my main desktop, and if it doesn't see DVBLink, it reboots the machine. You cannot get the actual service to restart if it's in that state. It just needs a whole reboot. It's a rare occurrence. Every 3 or 4 months it might do this, but I've got something to mitigate that and make sure that that never happens anymore. I thought I'd mention it. So if I now turn the service back on again, and it is quite a, it's not a small little service, that it's quite a big little, quite a big thing, this DVBLink server is. I think that's it reloaded. So now if we go back to the application, it's now running again. So that's what I wanted to demonstrate on the machine, but it's playing funny buggers with me. So that's the service shown. So I've diverted again. I was restarting the service to ultimately show you that having turned off the disabled from device manager DVB-T2 card, that has dropped out 2 TV tuner cards. So as I left it, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 TV tuner cards. If I click on channels, so this front end doesn't know the service is stopped. It will do if you click on it and it's not there, but if you don't and you restart it and then go back to clicking, it should just carry on working. So if we go back now, right, okay, so that card that I've disabled not only did T2, it did all those cable card tuners I don't use. So all I'm left with is 1 satellite tuner and 2 DVB-T tuners. So having turned off the T2 one, I know that that's got to be the T one. So I'm assigning my DVB-T, I hope you're following this, I'm assigning my DVB-T tuner guide data to an actual hardware card I know is capable of doing that tuning. So I click on that and that will assign that. So it's a bit of a kind of swap testing to kind of come to a conclusion as to which physical card showing in DVBLink was the one that was for DVB-T tuning. Okay, it's a way of figuring that out. So is that all of them done now? So got DVBS. Oh yeah, I've got one more DVB-T. Oh, what am I doing here? Oh no, I need to be doing it on the guide data, don't I? So I click on that. This is the last one. I'm going to reassign, and then I'm picking DVB-T, and then I'm going OK. Right. So in effect, there, I backed up my system from one machine into an XML file. I ported it to another machine. I've imported it. Physically, they're different machines or PC cards, but I want to basically tag satellite guide data to a card capable of satellite tuning, and I can do that. Okay, so now if I go to my TV and media library, whereas it blank before, it's now filled in the guide is the DVBLink guide with guide data. Okay, and in theory, I should be able to click on any of these channels and get it to play. Let me re-enable this card though. So I'm going to enable my T2 card. Now I do need to probably reboot DVBLink to get it to see that, I think. So if I go back into setup, because I need to get all my cards alignment, otherwise it could go for a card that isn't set up yet. Let's have a look. So has it come back with, oh, I didn't have to that's surprising. Normally I have to reboot the server. So my other two have come back, which are the T2 cards, physical cards. So I've got my two T2 missing guide data things, and I'm going to reassign my guide data to those 2 cards that are left. Now obviously if you're reinstalling the very same machine, physical hardware with the very same TV cards, you would back up, re-image your system with a new version of Windows, install DVB Server, put your backup file back in place, and bam, it's all back. You won't have to faff about doing this. I just thought I'd show you this because I discovered that this was an option, which is a really clever little option that means that we could, in effect, as I say, for satellite tuning in a nation, share each other's guide data if we wanted to. So the final guide data I'm going to tag in is this tuner, and I've got one more tuner, DVB-T tuner to assign it to. Okay, so they all should be matching. Okay, now unfortunately I've got one DVB-S tuner unassigned because I managed to delete the guide data before I made a backup of it on my own machine of one channel, which so that I should have done that one as well. But that kind of shows you the arrangement. So with all the channels tuned in matching, I should be able to watch a channel. So let's see if I can. So if I click on there, I'm doing this within DVBLink's own, I think they call it the DVBLink player front end. I don't know whether this will work. I might need to do a reboot the service was being a bit finicky. Oh,
trying to tee up Douglas Luiz instead.
Stop there. So that's worked. Okay. So imagine you want to reinstall your media center, and everyone I noticed on the forums, oh, I don't want to touch installation. It's all tweaked, it's all nice, and I'm worried it's going to get lost when I go. Well, if you're using DVBLink and you put the time in to scan for all the channels you want, pick order them the way you want them to, merge them with all your sources correctly, tag your guide data to it, and then it's all saved. I can literally re-image my machine, okay, reinstall Windows Media Center on it, put DVBLink on it. Okay, that's all you need to go across. DVBLink does put some plugins into Media Center, so definitely do it that way. But then once I've done that, I can import my old backup file. Bam, it's all there, all of it. I want to just briefly talk about how you relicense the product. Obviously, I've shown you how the trial version works, and once you activate it, it licenses. Okay, and I've showed you how you install it, and we've got the install file saved, and we've got the DLP file saved. So the final thing is, what happens if you need to license the product when you're reinstalling it? Well, you don't actually have to do that. To relicense it, all you need to do is go into the C program files, DVB Logic, DVB Link, share, licenses folder, make a copy of all of these licenses and drop them back into the same folder, okay, once you've installed DVBLink. So you re-image your system, reinstall Media Center, reinstall DVBLink, then I'd kill the DVBLink server service, and I'd copy the license files from my old system back into this folder, and they would, when you open it, it would all, when you reboot the machine and load DVBLink again, it would all be licensed. You wouldn't have to go and click on activate to activate it. Now you notice when I'm going here every time now it opens to the guide, so you have to click on setup once you've got guide data information into it. But you wouldn't have to click on each one of these and go activate that, activate that, activate. Okay, you just need to grab the license files, drop them in that location, turn, after you've installed Media Center DVBLink, turn the DVBLink service off, copy the license files back into that folder, reboot the machine, and it would all show as nicely licensed. So in effect, I've foolproof myself. The only other thing I can't do is obviously if my machine dies and I need a new motherboard, that will knock up the licensing, and if DVB servers back end is not working anymore, then I've hit a real stopping point there. But as regards installation file, plugins, and licensing on the same machine, I'm covered. I don't need to go to their servers at all. It's just if that one machine dies and I get a new machine, I won't be able to activate a trial because if the backend doesn't work, and I certainly won't be able to deal with any activation. So there is a worry there, but that's why I bought a new machine, so I'm good for the next few years. Anyway, so hopefully it won't be that scenario. Somebody will reverse engineer it in the future if they really don't want to support it anymore. Okay, so that's talked about installing the trial version. I talked about how you'd reinstall. Obviously, I've not shown you reinstalling, but I've described how you reinstall it and how you copy licenses to it. The same thing goes if you want that backup file to work with, say, IPTV files. Okay, you copy your IPTV file into this location from your other machine. If you wanted to, if you've arranged your IPTV source, added that in and arranged all the channels for that as well, and tag guide data to it. If you want that to appear correctly, having restored your backup from your other machine, you need to make sure your IPCAM file is in the playlist folder as well. Okay, so now that we've got all this set up, what I want to do is show you tuning of it. Okay, so that's backing up of it. You need to see how all these sources are tuned in. So I'm going to delete one of each of these tuners so I can show you how to tune. I've already got one DVB satellite channel available. So let me go through tuning this physical card Now, for some reason, it gives you when you if you let me actually delete all of this and start again, just so it's clear. So we're starting from a clean slate, okay? A machine with a physical card attached, not tuned in at all. You haven't stored anything from a previous machine. We're just deleting out everything we just copied over. Deleting everything out from the sources folder. In effect, the sources tab is wiping the slate clean as far as DVBLink is concerned. No sources, no nothing. So this is a big old deletion by getting rid of this. I think it'd be easier for me starting fresh anyway, and then you can see what it would look like. This is going back to how it looked before I imported that file. Right, okay, so this would be reinstalling or installing DVBLink again from scratch. It will just load up to here, your sources screen, and IPTV, which obviously I installed the IPT add-on, so I get IPT, and I installed TV source, so I get that in here as well. So let's go through installing, tuning a satellite channel, and I'll show you best practice on that. So if I go back to my main laptop, I'll show you how best to tune things in. This will save you a lot of time. This is a really good technique, okay? So I'm in the UK, I get Astra 28.2, okay? And if you go to King of Sat, or go into Google and search for King of Sat 28.2, you get this page, which shows you all the channels which are broadcasting on this satellite system. King of Sat's up to date every day with like changes. God, like 17th of August, it's got a change at 8:30. What day is it today? It's the 18th of August. Okay, so yesterday was a change and it was reflected in King of Sat. So why would you want to go to King of Sat before you do a tuning of satellite channels in DVBLink? Well, it's all based off King of Sat files, okay, which the installer is going to have old files. So if you go into Program Files, x86, DVB Logic, DVBLink, Share, okay, where we were earlier, it's the main area you go for licenses playlist that I talked about earlier. If you go to transponders though, you get a bunch of INI files, okay, which are all the satellite transponders based on numbering. So for instance, 0282, okay, is 28.2 satellite. There's also ones for UK transmissions as well. They're all listed in INI files. Okay, so if you download this one, which has got the biggest number of channels on, which is the one which contains all the subfrequencies of 28.2, and open it up. Where's it gone? Here we go. You get the listing of ultimately the nice tables, okay, and it shows you what each multiplex is. So if you've never done it this way before, this is the way to do it. So if I open the table, the first one here, and look at the notepad download, the INI file, I can see the very first line is 10714, which relates to that, horizontal, which relates to the H there, horizontal polarization, and then 2200, which I think is a bit rate, 56 relates to that, DVBS, QPSK. So in here there is 109 multiplexers being broadcast by Astra 28.2. Okay, now a lot of them are broadcasting stuff you don't want. So for me personally, I'd go through here. Right, I want all of that. Right, I don't need a multiplex with nothing on. So those are two multiplexes with nothing on. What's the point of tuning those? I'll delete those out. Okay. I do want ITV, so I'll carry on with that. That's another blank one, 10773, I think. This web page is quite top heavy to load it sometimes. It really puts some pressure on the web browser that you're using sometimes to load the tables on this page. So I don't want 107.73, there's nothing there. I do want this one. Okay, I do want that one. Yeah, I want that transponder. That was one. And then I do want all of this, so I won't delete any. But I get to stuff which is encrypted. So this is encrypted. 11038 is encrypted. So I don't want that to come through. So I'd find the 11038. There it is. 11038. Get rid of it. So what this does is, if you go to King of Sat, look at what channels are actively available and being broadcast on the satellite that you're going to be tuning, and go through it and look and say, well, I don't want that, I don't want that, I don't want that multiplex because that's full of crap, I don't want that, and you will get it down to what you actually want, okay? And this is going to save you a lot of effort later. Now, I've already put in place in the transponders folder, actually, I might not have done in this one because I'm on the laptop, but if I nip to my desktop, my new desktop, go into transponders and look for 0282, which is 28.2 east. Open with notepad. Right, I've got it down to 41 actual multiplexers I want to look at. So by doing this, it means you're saving yourself shitloads of time later on, going through a completely unmanageable list of channels. Well, I mean, there's 41 multiplexers I want. There was 109 multiplexers there. Okay, so I've basically got rid of so much crap just by looking at that table before scanning anything. It's only going to scan what's in this. Okay, it's not going to scan like Media Center does, the whole frequency range of everything that's out there, the whole broadcast spectrum. It's going to get the multiplexers that you want, okay, only. And this cuts out so much work rearranging and deleting channels that you don't want later on, because you've put the work in here very briefly. It doesn't take that long, probably about an hour just to look through. Well, do I want that? Yeah, I think I do. Well, that channel's repeated in that multiplex, so I can get it there. I don't need this multiplex. It's got a bunch of crap channels in the one channel I want. But the one channel I want is also on this other multiplex that's got a load of channels that I do want. So I'll get rid of the multiplex, which is a repetition. So you can go through and delete down exactly what you want, okay, and get it to scan that. So that's what I'm going to do now, okay. So you've gone to King of Sat, you've downloaded the thing, you've picked the channels you want, you've saved it in this folder. In the same way, also to make you aware, if you delete a channel, okay, you've got to renumber it. So the next one's got to be 2, 3, 4, 5, and you've got to alter the total there. But that's the only editing you need to do. Make sure you're saving it as a .ini and you know about file extensions, okay, and don't fluff it when you do the file extension saving. Have a look at it if you need to on the internet for that. But once you've edited it and saved it, you can then do a scan. So you've already done cut out lots of work later on, because you're only going to be manipulating the channels you actually want. So if I go through a channel scan here, I will call it DVBS2 Tuner 1. So that's how I like to call them. I'll give it a name. Click OK. Yes, it is a satellite DVBS2 tuner. Let's go next. Then you go normal. I'm not sure what the network bit is. Then you click on plus, and then you select 28.2, and then you click save. Now that's going to reference that ini file that you've edited. If you have edited an ini file while DVBLink's running, you may need to restart the DVBLink service so that when you pick the file again, that it's picking the one that you've edited. Okay, so if I go next, and if I could start a scan, now it's doing 41 channels, and as you saw in the ini file, I have exactly 41 channels, well, multiplexers I should say, okay, and it's going to go through and find them. So already you've cut out a lot of work by doing that. This is going to be a bit of a boring bit of the video, so you may want to skip. Unfortunately, I cannot pause these videos. Well, I can pause, but when I unpause, the sound and the vision goes out of sync. So just skip on until you see this box disappear. I'll be still here though. Okay, so that's done. Now, once it finishes scanning, you can open each one to see that each multiplex has been got as you wanted. So if I get the link for King of Sat and put it in the new desktop that I'm working on, and you should be able to see that everything kind of matches up. So the first multiplex has these channels in it, and that should match with what this is saying. So what have we got? Channel 4, channel 4. Now sometimes it doesn't have all the distinctions, depends on how they broadcast it. Obviously DVBLink's very specific and it knows that's the London feed, the Midlands feed or whatever. Okay, so sometimes the broadcast version won't be as specific, but as you can see, it's matching up. What's the next one? ITV, ITV2, CITV. So it's following the order, maybe missing a bit of distinction as to ITV London or whatever, but it's all there, and you can just go through and check that you've got everything, and it matches with King of Sat. So that's really a great way of tuning. So once you've got that tuned, it wants you to go to the next page, which is to start tweaking all the channels. So I'll stay on this page. So I've tuned one of my satellite tuners. Now I'm going to tune one of my DVB-T tuners. Now I don't know which of these is a T2 or a T, but we'll find out when we do the tuning. If it finds the extra services, I know which one it is, and I can then rename it if I have to. So let's call this. Now when you open do a tuning on the second for the second time, you get a different actual page. You get this page. Now, when I first got this, I thought, oh, this is a great way of merging tuners together at source. Here, of course, you can pick the existing tuner that you've just done, and if you had another satellite tuner, which I do, I could call that DVBS tuner 2, and they'd be like linked together. But I never found this worked very at all, so I wouldn't do this. Okay, even though you might have multiple satellite tuners which are going to have the same channel lineup, which you're pointing it to the same transponder file, which is going to find the same services, so you would think the way this is designed, you would say, oh right, well I've already got one satellite and I'll pick that from the drop down. Okay, so what does it say? If your new source has the same channel configuration as one of the already created sources, DV will use this existing source as the master copy and it's set to speed up the creation. Now that sounds great, but when I tried to use this, and I really tried to, it didn't work. So I'd advise not to do that. I'd say none. Treat this as a different source. In this case, it's not a satellite source, so I wouldn't merge it to that, but I'll call DVB-T tuner 1. I don't know whether it'll be DVB-T2 tuner. Obviously, I could do that thing in Device Manager of disabling the T2, so I know the one's left is the T, and that's I'm sure, but it doesn't really matter. So again, I'm going here, and I've now got a list of Australia, Europe, etc., a pre-tuned thing. Now this all relates again to the transponder file location, and I worked out that my transponder for Waltham is 4805. So this is the channel listing for Waltham. Now that kind of relates to information you can find in the UK for multiplexers for terrestrial television. So on this site, UK3.tv, it lists all the Waltham, and you've got the megahertz values horizontal, and you just put them in this file. I'm not sure what the 9600 relates to. I'm sure they were broadcasting at a certain bit rate or something. But again, if you've got some multiplex which is full of like the local TV channel to itself, which we do have here called Not TV, yeah, I just get rid of that. I don't include that multiplex. So again, you can edit even in the terrestrial lineup, picking which multiplexes you want. Obviously, there's so many channels to each multiplex for the terrestrial ones, and you'll want to keep all of them pretty much. But again, if anything changes, if that you find it doesn't scan, just find the ini file and alter it to whatever information you can find out. So if there's a new multiplex added, which is with a different value, you can add it in a similar way. So if you delete that one, you'd rename them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that will be 6, 7, and then you drop that to a 7. Okay, same thing. Okay, and get it to scan. So again, you can point it to exactly what you want. It's not like Media Center where, oh my God, if you're in an overlapping channel area or something. I don't know how I managed to cope really using Media Center in its own inbuilt tuning capabilities. It will just grab everything and duplicate and oh, nightmare. So with this, you can get it to be focused on what you want it to scan for, and that saves so much work. So I'm going to select my terrestrial station now, which is Waltham, and get it to scan this. Hopefully I've got the right ini file. Yes, I do. In here, I did update it earlier. So the default ones are obviously at time of when this was installed. The ini files aren't being updated, so obviously things are going to drift since DVBLink last tweaked them to be correct. So you're going to need to tweak them, but it's easy, as you can see. There's not much to it. So my setup has 2 satellite, 2 terrestrial, and another 2 terrestrial. So in effect 6 tuners, but only 2 of the terrestrial ones can do HD and 2 can't. I'm also going to show you in a bit how DVBLink categorizes all the tuners and make sure it's serving the right tuner for the right channel. Okay, it's a really clever way where it randomizers and make sure those 8 virtual tuners are being used in the right way. I'll explain that in a moment. So we've scanned all of these. So I'm going to say, yeah, take me to the next page, which should be the channels tab. Here we go. So if I wanted to do further refinement, if I've got ultimately, you know, I've knocked out the multiplexes I don't want, okay, but I've still got some channels I don't want within the multiplex with some channels I do want, and I want to get rid of them. I could, if I wanted to, just port across everything, okay, or I could get really specific and get rid of channels I don't want at this stage. So if I go into here and go into, this is how it does it by name, and if I wanted to, I could delete, but I need to remove this. So if I remove that back, I then have ability to, oh, I don't want that channel, I won't move that across. So you can tick the ones you want. Well, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one. They can go across, okay. So you can pick the ones that you want, okay, and not pick the ones that you do want, okay. So you've tuned by getting rid of unneeded multiplexers. You're now getting rid of unneeded channels from the multiplexers in this channel selection area. Okay, you tick the ones that you want, and it does it via lots of different categories. So you could start with the satellite ones, and then go TV, and then by name, and then D, and then get rid of dirty talk or whatever. You don't want that, do you? So you can pick and choose which you want and which you don't want, and then fling them across. Now, because I found that doing that thing earlier that I mentioned, don't do, where you put you scan the first satellite channel and then you don't put the second satellite channel under the first, and you just keep naming them independently. It does mean you have to repeat the same actions on each one. Okay. Maybe I need to relook at that and rethink through. Maybe I do need to do it in the way it's trying to do there, but I'm sure there was some reason why I didn't do it. I can't remember for the life of me what it is now. So by all means, try it that way and tell me what results you get. Obviously, it would make sense if you've got 2 satellite channels with the same exact lineup. You do this, you pair them together, and then whatever manipulations you do here, I presume, would be matched. But for some reason, I don't think it worked, and I didn't do it that way. So either way, you're picking off what you do want and what you don't want. So if I want to move them back, let's select all of these, move them back, and let's move the whole lot across. So I'm going to move all the channels across and save. So I'll stay on this page. So now if I go to sources, one of the other things you can do on the sources page to aid you in your merging operations and channel management is you can click this symbol and pick a color, and then save, and then this symbol, and then pick another color if you want, and save. Actually, the yellow is probably not the best color with a white background. Let's say green, and save. So you can then colorize tuners of different types, which helps in the merging process. Okay, and you can also obviously tweak the name there if you find one's actually not the channel type that you thought it was. You can go back and rename it. So that's great. So now you go to channels and pick off the channels you want. Logos, I don't use favorites or logos. I'm not sure what favorites actually does, really, to be honest. It certainly doesn't do anything as regards using it with a media center client, so I'm not really interested. Logos, you can have it import logos, but the logos, this is the logos in the DVBLink guide, though. You can get logos in here, but I would advise you not to use the DVBLink guide, okay, for anything other than on your main server machine with your TV tuner cards in, to check channels work, okay, outside of Media Center, and check guide listing information on the DVBLink server. I wouldn't use it as a way of setting shows to record on a phone using the DVBLink software. I'll go through the reasons why in a little bit. So that's all that set up. So now we need to go to channels. I'm version here. So let's go channel merge. Okay, so this is an automatic thing. So if I go merge by name, right, now notice that it's put 4.7 with 4.7. So the 4.7 channel green, which is terrestrial, is merged with the 4.7 channel, which is satellite. Okay, now there is, unfortunately, sometimes they do naming conventions differently slightly between satellite and terrestrial transmission. So if you've got BBC One coming via satellite and BBC One coming via terrestrial, they might call it on satellite BBC One with the digit 1 and via terrestrial as BBC space ONE, and therefore it can't merge them. But for the majority of channels, a lot of them, like 5USA plus 1 has been merged with that one, and so on and so forth. Okay. Obviously, if it's not got the channels merged correctly, you would merge them yourself by dragging and dropping. So, for instance, here's a good example. BBC 4, I can't remember what set green to, via satellite, it says that's via satellite, is BBC space 4 in capitals, whereas the one via terrestrial is BBC space 4 in capitalized and then the rest lowercase. So they need to be together. So I would then drag that to there. Okay, and then I'd save. And now BBC 4, if I was to go for channel 9 on the guide, it would have two tuners here to go to the BBC 4. Okay, if the first one's not available, it'll go for the second one. Okay, so that's how that works. Same with BBC 4 HD. I put that there. It's not managed to merge them together because the broadcasters haven't named them this exactly the same between broadcasting mediums, which is bloody annoying. So BBC News though, that's okay. BBC News HD is okay. BBC One HD, that's on its own. There you go. God, I didn't know that was the case, that was still happening, but look, it is. Slight channel naming thing between. You'd think they'd name them the same, but they don't. So you've got to manually do it. It's not the default DVB-Link. It needs the exact match to merge channels sources together, which are ultimately the same channel coming via different tuners or different routes. So that's how you do channel merging. There isn't more to explain on that. That's it. And you can merge by name. You won't merge by number. Okay. You split them all out so they're all individual. If you fucked up or something, never use that. That would be, don't hit that button if you're like way through manually moving channels together and you haven't hit save. That will really fuck things up. So, but you'd save after that. Make sure you save every now and again. So this is the main grunt work, okay, of channel merging. But once you've done the channel merging, you've got all your channels from all your different sources that should be together. You then go and arrange a channel lineup. So, for instance, if I want, so I can search by clicking on this by A to Z. So my first channel would always be BBC One. So BBC One East Midlands or something. There we go. So I want that to be, that is channel 1. And you name that channel 2 and that channel 3, and you keep going, and you could shift the channels along or whatever until you get them all numbered in your guide in the sequence that you want. Okay, so you've merged them, you've now got them in the right order. Okay, after that, your next thing is you're going to then tag EPG sources to them. Oh yes, go and save it then. And on this screen, you can do that. Now, I've paid for the TV Advisor plugin, which gets you, if you pay for the subscription, gets you this thing, and you can match. And this can auto match channels as well. And if it doesn't know, it asks you, yeah, that is the one. 5 spike plus 1, yeah, that is the one. 5 star, yeah, that will be right. So in this way, I wish the channel merge had this function. but it seems to not. But this one does give you kind of options which will aid it quicker, but it doesn't. So so you go through this, but this is superfluous really, because I'd go through this because it has auto matching first off, but the main work on channel EPG sources is ultimately in here, okay? And you can then select a channel and tag a source to it. So I've only got one advisor source, one EPG source in here at the minute in the drop down, which is the TV advisor. So if I look for a channel, which will be at the top, which should be that 47, should be around here somewhere. Right, 47 HD. Again, look at the naming convention change there, so it couldn't match it automatically. So if I click the plus, I've added that one, and again you can just hit the plus and assign. But yeah, it's a bit of grunt work, but it's put a few hours in, you'll have the perfect channel lineup, and you'll be able to save it and reinstall your whole system and import the whole thing again in seconds, and it be there and working. So a little bit of grunt work, but a lot of payoff later on. And obviously you can still scan for more channels, and you don't have to do a full scan. So for instance, if you go to King of Sat and you realize that, I don't know, this multiplex has now changed to a different number and that's knocked out some channels, you could create an ini file with just this one multiplex in, and then you could go and do a kind of top-up scan. So if I go back to, save that. So if I go back to sources and say I've got to add some more channels to satellite, if I'll go configure, no, I'll go satellite, actually cancel that. So if I go on the satellite one, so I want to search from search channels. Now I think it's search channels, normal again. Now what you could do is make sure that ini file has got your new multiplex in, if there's been a multiplex change, and just list those ones, and it will just import that one. And then you can again, it would appear in this, come out of here. So it would appear in, come on, go to channels. It would appear under here. You'd see the extra channels somewhere. Once you dig down, it'd be here. Then you could port them across, and then you could go through the whole process of clearing out. If you've got old channels in 4.7, you could get rid of the old channel, and then if you've got the new channel, move it in. Come on. Maybe that one doesn't want to go into that one. Maybe I need to save first. But you can ultimately merge them all together again and add the new channel. You don't have to do a full channel scan and do the whole thing again. You can pick out the ones you want. Again, with the free view, you could do the same with the terrestrial channels. You could top them up and get specific. If there's been one multiplex, there's a slight change, you could get it to scan just that one multiplex. And that, so again, you could go configure on this tuner, and then search channels. Yes, we're searching that one. Again, I need to get specific with the at this point by picking setting the ini file correctly. So that's gonna, I'll come out of that because that's, I need to set the ini file, but you get the idea. So you've got everything. That's basically how to go through channel scanning and merging and setting an EPG guide. There really isn't much more to it. That's the basic process. So what I think I'll do next is, I've got just two more topics to talk about. But I'm going to do them on my desktop PC, which has this all perfectly configured. So I'm going to reboot this desktop I'm in now, my new desktop, but we're going to go to a hard drive which has all of this perfectly set up on, okay, for 1809 Windows. So I'll come out of that. I'll come out Okay, I'm also going to talk next about how to use Windows Media Center Recorder instead of built-in DVB-Link Recorder, and tell you why you don't want to do that. When you use the guide in DVB-Link, when you go to the guide area, when you pick a show off the guide, defaultly, as it's currently configured, it will record not in a WTV file. It will record a transport stream file. Okay. My main desktop's just rebooted. I'm just going to connect back onto it, and I will explain myself properly. Okay, so this is my new desktop book with the hard drive, which has got all this perfectly set up on. So I'm going to open Windows Media Center. Okay, I'm going to open DVBLink Server, although the app is called DVBLink Player, confusingly. And I'm going to show you the perfectly set up system with everything on. Okay, using the techniques obviously explained earlier. So this is my perfectly tuned setup. 2 satellite tuners, 2 DVB-T2 tuners, and 2 standard tuners, all coloured such. And if we go through the channels area, this will look a lot better. So I've got 482 channels, having culled down the multiplexers. Okay, but I only really want 157. So I've gone through picking off the ones I wanted and put them on the right, the ones I wanted. Okay, then I've gone into channel merge, and I've merged them all nicely together. Okay, the pinks are the satellite, and the green are the 2 DVB-T tuners, and the blue are the T2. And as you can see, some channels have 6 tuner sources, 2 satellite, 4 terrestrial. Okay, some don't. Some only have 2. Some satellite channels only have 2, like Bloomberg. I can only get by satellite. So satellite's pink. So that's that. So what I'm going to show now is ultimately about the recorder option that is built into DVB-Link. So I used to alter something to get DVB-Link to record shows using Windows Media Center, and I'm not bothering doing that anymore, mainly because it produces an error. Okay, I'll show you the error. That's the error. Okay, so defaultly, let me get this all right in my head for you because I'm flitting around. So when you defaultly install DVBLink Server, okay, and you go through all that guide process configuring that I've just talked about, and you've got your guide set up on DVBLink. If you record a show on the guide, on the DVBLink guide, this one, not in Media Center, okay, but in DVBLink, okay, it's going to actually record the show as a transport stream. Okay, this is how they configured it. So I'm just checking it still plays in here, and then I'll set a show to record, and you'll see this in here. So that shows that's clearly working. So now I'm going to set a show to record, not in Media Center, but in DVBLink, having installed it and not tweaked the recording options. So is that now? Yeah, so now we've got the red thing on the show. Okay, this is not recording in Media Center. If I go into Media Center, I'm not seeing that show coming up. That's not there. Okay, it's recording in DVBLink off the guide. So let me explain. So if I turn on, I have this turned off automatically, but when you go into here, when you install DVBLink, first of all, you install Media Center first, then you install DVBLink, you'll get this on your menu, DVBLink Media Library. Okay, if you go into it, click on Recorded TV, click on Name. You've got this Sunday Morning Live, and it's recorded in a very strange place as well. So if I go to Setup, go to Settings, and where is it? Recorder. It's going to this location here, which is C, Users, where is it? Public, Documents, DVBLink, Recorder, and there's the show, Sunday Morning Live, that I'm recording right now, and it's a transport stream file. Okay, so I don't know why DVBLink did this, but yeah, there's a Media Center client for DVBLink, okay, and it has a guide, but ultimately, if you record on DVBLink's guide, okay, it records in here, okay, which you don't want, okay, but to be honest, you wouldn't really use unless you go on DVBLink's guide and set a show to record, okay, is the only way that you do it. So you wouldn't normally do it. I'm explaining this though because it kind of shows something else that I'm going to come to in a second. So defaultly, set show to record on DVBLink's guide, records to this public documents folder in a transport stream format, and DVBLink, when it's installed, after Media Center is installed, defaultly puts this icon in place to get to these recordings in a real faffy about way, because you click on it again, click on it again, you click on it again, and then you can click play. Oh my god. Plus it's in transport stream format. You don't want this, it's crap, okay, you're not going to use it, okay, but I'm going to explain it because it is kind of confusing when you first install it that you get this and you think, what is this fucking thing about, okay, so you're not going to use it, but I'm explaining it to tell you not to use it, because it's shit, and you don't want it, you're just going to use Media Center to record. So the first thing I do when I install DVBLink, after obviously I've installed Media Center first always, and then DVBLink. But first thing when I come into Media Center after DVBLink is to turn this off. So I'll go into Extras, and go into Extras, and then go into Manage Extras, Start Menu, Untick. Okay, so we're not going to see that thing again. Okay, it's gone. Okay, you're not going to use it. Now, what you could do is you could follow the advice here, which is how to use Windows Media Center Recorder instead of the built-in DVBLink recorder. Okay, so what this means is that if you make this slight change in a configuration file in DVBLink, reboot your machine or restart the DVBLink server service, when you set a show to record on the DVBLink guide, it will actually trigger Media Center to record a show. Okay, it won't use DVBLink recorder. Now, I got in the habit of doing this all the time. It's one of my standard little fixes that I used to do, okay, to record off the DVBLink guide. And in the previous video I showed you where I was setting up a client, a Media Center client, I showed you that I used MB for viewing the guide, okay, of my server machine from my Media Center client. The reason why I do that is twofold. One is you don't get logos anymore in the DVBLink guide. Okay, you can actually get logos in this DVBLink guide. If you look at screenshots of DVBLink on the web, the guide can have logos in it. But when you swap to the media center recorder, okay, it can't have logos in the guide for some reason. I do not know why, which is a bit annoying if you're going to use DVBLink as like a guide, because you can get for your phone. I used to have on my Windows mobile phone DVBLink software, which would interface to the DVBLink server, give me a guide, and I could pick shows off to record. And I did that for a bit. Okay. And I also, on my media center clients, had this guide, the DVBLink guide, showing, because you could install it, is just a web page in effect, and you could have that showing you what live TV was, what the guide was currently recording on the main server box. That is actually what's popping up there, is my PowerShell script to check that DVBLink is running. If it's not, it reboots the machine. Just to mention that. So where was I? Guys, got a few things to get over in this part. So yeah, so I'd alter my configuration file to get DVBLink's guide to be recording in media center format, so that I could then record on my clients, okay, using the DVBLink guide, and have shows pop into the standard media center recorded TV folder as they always do, not in that method I just showed you earlier, which is long-winded and tedious and creates a transport stream file, but it would record like media centers guide. Okay, so you could have on your phone the DVBLink little thing, which would connect to your DVBLink server, and you could see the guide and set shows to record, and it was all working fine using media centers recorder. Obviously, you didn't have any logos on this guide. I don't have any imported here anyway at the minute, so I do not use the DVBLink guide. But if I'd gone to channels and I'd gone to logos, okay, and I'd imported all the logos for my channels, and so long as I'd not swapped over to the media center recorder, I was still using the DVBLink recorder, okay, I would have logos in this guide. But because this DVBLink guide records defaultly using the DVBLink recorder, which spits out transport stream files and requires that extras area to be enabled to see that tile to view it, and it's all a crap way of doing it. I don't want to use DVBLink anyway, so I'm not bothered that I'm not seeing the logos, okay, in the DVBLink guide. But I don't want to use Media Center anyway, the Media Center recorder anyway. Go on, I'm explaining this rather badly, but I hope you're following this. The reason why I don't want to use Media Center anymore is because there's now some kind of bug whereby this is what you get. Okay, for the DVBLink guide to open, and having had that configuration file changed over to basically enable Media Center to be doing the recordings and not DVBLink. Okay. It ultimately requires you to have Media Center running. Okay, so you're supposed to have Media Center running on this machine before DVBLink starts, otherwise you'd get this error. Okay, so to get the DVBLink guide to work, having switched over to the Media Center recorder, not the DVBLink recorder, when your machine boots up, Media Center has to load first, okay, and then DVBLink has to load. Okay, and that should supposedly enable any shows that are set on the guide on DVBLink to go across to Media Center and be recorded on Media Center. But for some reason, it started doing this error. And it used to be in build 1607 of Windows. As long as you had Media Center running first and you'd set the DVBLink server service to be delayed before it opened, so that it will always be running second. So I'd in effect got Media Center to open in the startup group folder, so it was always running, and the moment Windows logged in, okay, this would then load up the guide, but unfortunately it doesn't anymore. It comes up with this error. Every time. So even if I reboot this machine and made sure that Media Center was running, okay, and then it went to open DVBLink and then tried for the guide, it should come through, but it doesn't. And one of the caveats is Media Center's always got to be running on the taskbar, okay, to get the DVBLink guide to open, okay. Otherwise, you get this error, okay. So this is the setup I used to use fine on Windows 607, Windows 10, but since then it seems to have stopped working. But in any case, I found that MB not only shows the logos of my guide, not only when I click record, records to Windows Media Center anyway, okay, not only that I can access my guide on a phone via MB and play back shows via MB as well. I've now gone back to setting DVBLink to be the main recorder, okay? But it was only if you were recording stuff from DVBLink's own guide, okay? But you're not going to be. The only time you're going to be using DVBLink's guide is really just for channel tuning purposes. I use it now just to check that I'm actually my channels still work. If there's a problem in Media Center, I just want to check it on the server. I use this guide. I do not set shows to record on here, even if I've changed them to Media Center. I've altered this configuration file. I'll go back to here. So in this effect, it says to use Windows Media Center as a recorder instead of built-in DVBLink recorder, do the following: stop the service, go into the XML file, change all occurrences of DVL recorder to MC recorder, save file, and start DVBLink Windows service again. So I would say to you, if you saw this and wondered what this was about, don't do it. Okay, don't change over to Media Center. There's no point. Okay, this is only really affecting you if you're using the DVBLink guide to record shows, and you don't want to do it because you can't get any logos when you change over to Media Center's way of doing it, okay, which looks shit. And the fact that it now seems to not work anyway, the guide won't load on your client because on your server you have to have Windows Media Center open first before DVBLink opens, and even if you do that now, it still doesn't work. Okay, so I hope, God, I've talked a long time about this, but I hope you get this, because it is a bit of a minefield when you see this, and also you see that thing appear when you install DVBLink. You think, oh, this is the new way of how recordings are supposed to be recorded in DVBLink. I must use this new thing that I showed you earlier. Well, no, don't use it. It's crap. Okay, you don't want to use it. Okay, and don't be confused by all this. I hope this makes sense, what I've just said. It is a bit confusing for me to off the cuff go through all of this, but I hope that makes sense. Okay, so now I'm just going to finish on one final thing. I'm going to finish on how DVBLink picks the best tuner. Okay, so when we went through merging everything earlier that I showed you, and I can show you here again my channel mergers. Obviously, a lot of channels I've got have 6 tuner options, but there's some that don't. Okay, some that only have 2. A lot of the satellite channels, I've only got 2 satellite tuners, and if a channel is only available by satellite, I've only got 2 chances of actually tuning to that channel. If satellite's already been used to record a channel which could have been recorded via another tuner via terrestrial, then that's silly, isn't it? So, but DVBLink perfectly picks the right tuner every time. So let me demonstrate that. So if I now go into Media Center, and I'm going to set some shows to record all at the same time, which are ultimately shows that are on channels that are on their own separate multiplexers, so therefore require their own tuner for each one, and we're going to see how this all stacks up. So to view this all, I'm going to go to the diagnostic tab, which shows you all your channels. At the minute, all your tuners. At the minute, none of them is streaming anything. I'm now going to record BBC One SD. Now, BBC One SD should go on a terrestrial tuner. Okay, it's gone on a terrestrial tuner. Okay, it hasn't gone on a T2 tuner. Okay, because this BBC One channel is SD. The one above it is HD. Okay, so HD channels on a different multiplex to SD channels. Okay, so it had 4 tune. Well, it could have gone 6 ways. It hasn't gone to satellite; those have been left free, and it hasn't gone to the T2 tuner. Okay, those are left free. It's gone to the perfect tuner. Okay, it's gone for the SD tuner, the one that can only do SD channels, and it's made sure that it's gone to that one. So now if I record, let's record ITV. ITV, again, I'm going to record an SD version of ITV. This should go on a non-T2 tuner as well, hopefully. There we go. So that is another SD channel on another multiplex, and that's gone on tuner 2. Okay, not T2 tuner 2, but just tuner 2. Okay, so now I'm going to record a HD channel again on a separate multiplex. I'm going to predict that it's going to pick DVB-T2 tuner 1 or tuner 2 at the bottom to record on. And it has. It's gone there. Okay. So all of these channels, BBC One, ITV, and Channel 4, are all available on satellite, but it's not gone to satellite. It's left satellite free because it knows that ultimately I've only got 2 tuners for satellite, and there's only a few channels. There's channels that I can only get via satellite, whereas all these other channels have 6 actual options. Well, actually, no, this one has 4. So let's have a look. So BBC One, ITV, and Channel 4 HD. So if I go to channels and I go to channel merge and I sort by number to make it easier for me. Come on. Oh, did I just go? Oh, I went merge by number there, didn't I? Cancel that. That's going to fuck things up. So, but I wanted to actually click on this one. There we go. God. Okay. So let's have a look. So I recorded this one, BBC One, standard definition, 6 tuners available. Okay. Then the next one I did was ITV. Again, 6 tuners available. Then the next one I did was Channel 4 HD. Okay, which only has 2 tuners available. Okay, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, it's picking the right tuners to always leave the ones that are required, which are the only route to get to one channel. Okay, if there's multiple tuners available for a particular channel, okay, it will always go to the one which is most available, kind of, so to speak. It's ultimately not going to go to the satellite ones and start using those. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. So if I now with all these streams going start to record a channel that is only available via satellite, so let's record this one. It's going to go on one of the satellite channels. It has to, because that's the only route available. actually, wait a second. No, that one is available on terrestrial as well. So I'm incorrect in that. So again, it's avoided the satellite again. All right, let me find a channel that is definitely right. This cruise channel is definitely only available via satellite. Okay, so this should definitely go to one of the satellites. There you go. It's gone to one of the satellite tuners. Okay, so it will keep the channels it needs to keep free for those that are only available via one route. Okay, which is really clever. Again, you don't have to be on your channel merge screen. If we go back to channels again, channel merge screen is quite an important one, but you don't have to think, oh, Pink's satellite. Oh, that's it checking again to make sure the server's still live. I'm going to set that to go silent. It is a bit annoying and it pops up. So these here, the pink one, I think what was, let's have a look at the, no, I need to look at sources, don't I? Oh, there we go. So the pink is satellite, the green is a non-HD, and then the blue is the HD one. So if I go back to, where was I? I was now. Oh. Oh yeah, it's channel merge, wasn't it? Channel merge is where I'm going. Sorry, I'm confused. Right, okay. So you don't have to stack these and think, oh, this one should be at the top. Just put them together. Okay. It's not like in Media Center where you went to this screen where you were doing this. If you were doing this all manually in Media Center and trying to merge sources, I can't remember how you actually did it, didn't I? You go here, wouldn't you? We go to the first one. So the old way of doing it would be go here, go edit channel, go edit sources, and then try and get all these to be married up, and you'd be flicking, oh, I need that one to be the first tune, and that one to be the second, and then that one to be the third. And you'd have to get them in order so that Media Center would go in the correct priority. So it will go, right, I want to make sure that BBC One goes for the terrestrial tuners. First 4 tuners are going to be terrestrial. The last 2, it's going to attempt to go to a satellite. So for every channel, in the way that you used to do this, you'd have to go through and move individual. Oh, it was an absolute nightmare. Before DVBLink, it was a nightmare. You'd have to go through doing that if you really wanted a layout for the main 20-30 main channels, so that if you've got people who are recording literally lots of different channels, that the priority was correct, that the satellite ones were left to the end, okay, of an attempt of recording, whereas DVB-Link does it naturally. So you don't have to go into here and assume that satellite, obviously you know satellite isn't first, but for some reason the color scheming here, it's arranged by sources every time. Pink top, kind of a group which has got all a lot, but obviously that doesn't matter. You don't have to like rearrange and move them individually up or down before saving. You can't. If you do that and save, you'll see that the DVBLink's just color coded them in this way. So it's serving the right channel at the right time. I think I've gone on long enough about that. Let me stop all these recordings, and I'm now going to show you one final thing, and this will be the conclusion of my video. Let me start this as well. And start that recording as well. Oh, God. Right. Okay. So what I wanted to show you as a final thing is, I don't know, I was just talking there about how you'd have to deal with the priority of channels that you'd merged. Another tool I used to use before DVBLink was Guide Tool, because this would allow me to merge channels. So if I wanted to merge that channel forward that channel 4, you click on that one, you'd highlight that one, you'd right click and you go merge. Okay, that would save you a lot of hassle within Media Center, doing it the old-fashioned way of merging. So that would be the example of the channel merge before DVB-Link came on the scene for me. I'd have to load this tool and laboriously search for channels which were together and then merge them together so that there were one source, and then you could tag your guide data to them using the guide data here. Oh god, it was a nightmare. It took tech ages, and once you merge them, you then have to go into Media Center and shuffle the priority of the actual channels up and down, making sure satellite were at the bottom. What an absolute nightmare that was. Well, channel merging is easy. Okay, it's automatic in most cases, and you're just providing a bit of a mop-up. Okay, and the priority is always going to serve you the right channel. So let's have a look at this. This will give you some indication as to how it's working, because once you've done all this in DVB-Link, you've got this all perfect. You've got your guide laid out as you want it, and you can see how it's laid out in here. Okay, you want it to go across into Media Center, so you go through the whole Media Center tuning wizard. Okay, but you would pick at the point of tuning, you pick the only the DVB-Link virtual tuners we talked earlier about. So in Device Manager, so you've got these 8 virtual tuners, okay, and this refers to these 8 virtual tuners you see here, and you can actually see how the logic of how DVB-Link is working here, and how it randomizes and makes sure that all 8 virtual tuners can cope with all the channel recording that you're doing. So for instance, if I do it by number, so BBC One that I recorded earlier is available on 6 tuners, the virtual tuner 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Okay, if I find that cruise channel, which was satellite, that's only available on 2, which means tuner 6 and tuner 8, these virtual tuners that Media Center sees, okay, are the ones that are ultimately serving the program. So you can see ones that are purely, so just to give you a highlight, so these channels are purely coming in via satellite. I think that one is as well, yeah. Yeah, so those are the satellite tuners, 6 and 8. Obviously, this is how DVB-Link Server virtualizes it. So Media Center's got to be scanned, and it's got to see the channels in an arrangement such as it would do if it scanned proper terrestrial and satellite channels. So it's got to keep a guide and know where to go. And DVB-Link then services based on this. So you can see how the virtual tuners are breaking down. So ultimately, they are correctly serving the right channel, and as you can see, the satellite channels only have 2 virtual tuners to them, and clearly DVB-Link was meant for more channels, I think, because that one in the middle, that virtual tuner 4 and virtual tuner 1 has no channels assigned to it, so in effect DVB-Link could work with even bigger amounts of channels than what I'm working with, which is only 178. So, and it still produce a listing that can again serve the right channel, okay, based on need and everything that I discussed earlier. So yeah, that's everything I really wanted to say. I hope this kind of has been an informative video for you. I know it's a bit long-winded. How long have I been chatting for now? I'm not sure. But thank you for listening. I hope it's proved useful. Anyway, if Kevin, you could find out the answers to that secret link for recorded TV, I'd be really appreciated how you could get that to map a network share, so I don't have to sync all the time. And I'm going to do 2 further videos. One, now I've talked about how DVB-Link works. I'm going to do another video which ultimately shows you how you can set up a server machine perfectly with everything else around DVBLink Media Center, how you configure it. Okay, and then another video on configuring a client. Okay, because this is the other key point. Not only have you seen all the great features of DVBLink there, but the other key one is obviously you can then have a Media Center client, and in effect, then you can make your own Windows Media Center extender, which is the ultimate plus point really of this, that you use the DVBLink Media Center client and make your own extender. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening. I think that's everything covered. Thank you all for watching. I hope it's been informative. Thank you very much. Bye bye.